YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. After day one of the NFL Combine with the quarterbacks, receivers, and tight ends, and I'm here to break down my winners and losers on the day, and we'll talk about where their draft stock might be before and after their Combine performances. Was pretty excited as expected with these receivers. Some obviously were pretty impressive, some a little disappointing. A lot of guys, for some reason, put on a lot of weight or muscle, which is kind of impressive, but I think it kind of hurt their Combine performances a little bit. We'll do this for every single day of the Combine. We're tweeting live on our Twitter and posting to my story on Instagram about the Combine, so you're going to want to follow those. You'll find a link in the description for the Twitter and Instagram, and then you'll find a link for our new channel, the Goat House Plus. We have two channels here, full NFL coverage, in-season, free agency, NFL draft. We got you. Please subscribe to both channels. And then something new, we have a podcast, the Goat House Podcast, on Spotify and on Apple. And then plenty more being added to that, hopefully every single week. And then if you go to our Patreon, you'll find a link down below. There's extra content on there, and part of the extra content is the podcast in video form. But the first big winner from day one of the Combine, a pretty obvious one, Chase Claypool, wide receiver from Notre Dame, at 6'4", 238. He ran a 4.42, which if you've been following us for a while here, you know I've been kind of high on Chase Claypool, one of my sleepers in the draft, and not really getting much love even for the second round, even though I was kind of putting him around that area. I actually was thinking he was going to run, right around, just get in the 4.4s, 4.49, because once he gets going, he's moving if you watch him at Notre Dame. But 4.42 is just outstanding. And then obviously jumping 40.5 inches there was big time for his vertical, and the broad jump at 126. But yeah, in the drills, real smooth as expected, but really the 40 time, the vertical, and you look at the analytics, the metrics, who he compares to, he matches up with, and you see him among, guys like Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, and that's ridiculous. And I know for a fact a lot of GMs and scouts, like, they use that. They'll actually use that, on draft day. They'll see who guys compared to in the past, how those guys played. They use those things. So I think that shoots Chase Claypool's stock up, really. And there was talk about him moving to tight end, and I mean, if he is a tight end, he's going to be a darn good one because how freaky he is, but he's a receiver in my opinion, playing from the outside, the inside, wherever it is. And, if you had to pick one, you have one play on a goal line fade or a jump ball, who are you choosing to win out of every receiver in this draft class? And Claypool is going to be, you could argue that the choice is Claypool. So that's how talented he is, with the Combine performance. And he was kind of getting that round 3 talk. Some people even maybe had him later before, and I think he really put himself inside the top 50. So that's within the second round there. There's some teams that may take him in the first. I mean, you look at what his size, what he's able to do on the field, and then the numbers here. There are some teams, you don't want to overreact from the Combine, but I mean, you go back and look at the guys that ran really fast. They didn't really have the tape or the production. Remembering guys like Stephen Hill, Darius Hayward-Bay, Troy Williamson. We even go back that far. Those guys didn't have tremendous production or great tape. They were just really fast. But Claypool has it on the tape. And, he can play in the slot, play outside. I think some teams will like him, maybe even in the end of the first round. I think he'll start to get some talk, but just because how many good receivers are and how many other receivers help themselves, it's still a long shot for him to actually go in the first round. So I'd say around top 50, but he really helped himself. Being in the conversation with Calvin Johnson is absolutely big time, and it's not just people on TV or people on Twitter that are, noticing that. Teams, organizations, scouts, GMs, coaches, they are noticing these things, and they take those things very seriously. So big day for Chase Claypool, probably the biggest winner on the day, but another one right with him that should get drafted actually higher is Denzel Mims, a wide receiver from Baylor. I've been hyping him up. I talked about on Twitter a couple weeks ago that I had 10 receivers that I would value as a first-round pick, but not that I think they're all going to go in the first round, of course. I just value them as first-round picks, first-round talents when I watch their tape. Denzel Mims was one of those guys. And why? For several things. He's long, he's athletic, great hands, great extension at the catch, but I keep going back. People probably sick of me saying this about Denzel Mims, but my favorite thing is I'm calling a hand check. It's like a last second separation from the defensive back, consistently does it. And it's some people may think it's offensive pass interference, but it's so quick, so sneaky, never going to get called. The elite receivers in the NFL do it all the time, never going to get called. He didn't get called for it in college, and I think it's just smart, great strategy, great technique, and that's something that I really like on top of many other things. And being 6'3", 207, being able to move at a 4.38 speed, jump 38.5 inches, and the 3-cone was ridiculous. I mean, that's the best on the day. By a long shot, actually, 6.66 on a 3-cone drill. That's ridiculous. So, there's really no flaws on tape. I mean, I think it's a safe prospect. This is a safe prospect. Before, it was kind of feeling second round, but I always thought, somebody could really like him, take him first. I really think he goes first round after this. There actually are some receivers that did help themselves, but some that hurt themselves. So he's definitely going to go ahead of some other receivers that he was already close with in that group of receivers that could potentially be first-round picks. Somebody's going to fall in love with it. What is there to dislike about this guy? I really can't find anything. People dislike some Big 12 receivers sometimes because sometimes it's just pure system. Sometimes it's just, there's really no route tree. It's kind of run to get open. So I guess that was kind of the case with Mims, but I think he's a very safe wide receiver prospect. There's no negatives here. Great size, great length, great hands, great at the point of attack, catch, and great numbers here. Very smooth in the drills. Denzel Mims really helped himself. Very impressive day from him. Another one here, Justin Jefferson, who was already known as a first-round pick. Kind of borderline. You would see some people kind of say maybe early second, but I say 90% of the people would say he'll go in the first. It was kind of looking at around maybe the Packers pick, which is 30, I believe. Yeah, 30. Around there. I don't know if he gets by the Bills pick. That's right at 22. You look at the Eagles pick at 21, the Bills pick at 22. I don't know if he gets past there, because I think he kind of jumped over. Maybe we'll talk about some of the guys that hurt themselves this week. Could have jumped over them. I think a pretty safe pick too. I mean, he could run routes. He's very athletic. I expect, people were blown away by the time. I kind of would have predicted a 4.48 around there. So, 4.43 is great for him. So nothing super surprising. 37.5 verts, great. 126 broad, super smooth in the drills. As expected, great. It's a safe prospect. The only thing is he does much, much better against zone than man. How will he be against like the heavy man teams? That's kind of the question. But great hands. Great after the catch. So yeah, like I said, I thought he was most likely going to be a first-round pick, maybe towards the back, even though I liked him better on my board than the back part. But yeah, now, looking at where the Eagles and the Bills pick right there, 21-22, I'm not saying he's going to one of those teams. He really can go earlier than that. It's just hard to see him get by that point. But other guys are going to help themselves in the combine too. We still got quite a few more days here to go. But a big-time player, and why he's a winner is because what he presented on the field in Indianapolis, and because I think he locked himself into the first round. A huge winner for me. Maybe one of those guys on my board that's really going to help themselves. I'm going to go back and watch some more tape too. Donovan PeoplesJones from Michigan, 6'2", 212. We know he's kind of a big body receiver, running a 4.48, which I was a little worried about his 40 time because on tape, he's very good after the catch or on punt returns. But he never really was moving that fast to me. To me, it was more just the vision and the strength got him. So the 4.48. And he's still got his size, but he looks, a little leaner too. So that's a good thing. And running the 4.48 shows that he can improve. It's, sometimes there's guys that doesn't really match, and I kind of trust the play speed a little more. But I like the improvement here of Donovan PeoplesJones. Vertical 44.5. Think about that. 44.5 inches. Ridiculous. It's a superhuman. It's ridiculous. That's a freak, and that's what you want at the receiver position. So you see him as a threat, a jump ball guy in the red zone as well. And the broad jump at 139 is absolutely ridiculous. It sounded like he was going to go around round 3. I was even kind of pushing to round 4 maybe. But I think he really boosted his stock. This type of freakish receiver, teams aren't going to want to pass up on. And, very smooth combine. Another one I want to go back, watch some more tape. There's a lot of tape I still need to watch. But round 2, I would think it's just hard to believe this many receivers are going to go this early, but they're so damn good. It's ridiculous. So a big win for Donovan PeoplesJones of Michigan. And then we go to another big winner. I'm going to have an honorable mention kind of winners too coming up and some losers. Antonio Gibson, who I grade as a running back. I think he's a running back, but he played both running back receiver. I was talking about him on Twitter not that long ago. And had some highlights on there as well. I like him better as a running back. The way he moves, his style, it kind of reminded me of Chris Carson a little bit. Obviously, Carson's going to be a little bit stronger. Just the way he moves, I was talking about that on Twitter as well. It reminded me of Chris Carson, but Chris Carson ain't running no 4.39, so that's pretty ridiculous. I think a natural running back without a whole lot of experience there. Listed as a receiver, a little more production at receiver, but to me, he's a running back, and for that big 6 foot 228, that big of a running back to run a 4.39, jump 35. The broad jump's nothing special there, but I threw that up there, but it's good enough. For that and without having the experience, some people could say it's a negative not having the experience at running back. To me, it's positive. For you to be that natural and for it to be not that hard of a position to learn, but you can learn a lot from these NFL coaches. There's a reason why these coaches, throughout the whole staff, not just the head coach, the running back coach, the strength coach, those guys, the trainers, that's why they're in the NFL. They can help him take that next step. And this could be a day 2 pick. There's going to be teams that are like, where do we use him? There's going to be those teams. There's going to be the teams that I like this guy a lot. We're going to use him at both. There's going to be a team that, I think if you had to pick one, running back, receiver, which that's obviously not the case, I'm picking running back. As a receiver, I think he's a day 3 guy. I think it's a bonus that he can play that. I was surprised that he ran with the receivers. But did not expect the 4.39. That's blazing for him, absolutely blazing for his size. I think this guy's gonna be a good running back. We know the top 3 guys are gonna come off the board, not in no order. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then you got DeAndre Swift, and you got J.K. Dobbins, and then and then after those are the obvious 3 is what I'm getting to. And then after that, a lot of people like Jonathan Taylor. I think teams will be scared about him because of the fumbling situation. But you got Cam Akers and maybe Zach Moss, and I think you can fit Gibson in there as well. I do like Anthony McFarland from Maryland. I think he can fly, and he's got great vision. But I think Gibson kind of made himself in his way into there, right in there. So I thought he was a kind of an early day 3 pick before. I think round 3. It's very interesting. I can't wait to see who. It's one of those guys where I can't wait to see who ends up with them, and you kind of can get a better idea what their plan is. Just kind of knowing the team, the system, and what they need. Kind of get a better idea. But really, we're going to have to wait until if football actually starts up again to see what the actual plan is for him. But I like him better at running back, but he can play both, and it's a unique player, faster than I thought he would be. Very impressive. I got one more big winner before I get into a list of pretty big winners, I guess, and then losers. Desmond Patman, who I like a lot. Can't wait to watch more of his tape. Reminds me of Chase Claypool a lot, actually. Right around the same size, 6'4", 225. It's a freaky big guy. 4'4", 840 is blazing for him. 36-inch vertical, broad jump at 132, which is a great number. Just being a big body guy, can he, what's his movement like? That was kind of the concern. Before I thought he was a day 3 guy. Not a whole bunch of talk early day 3, really. I think he has a chance to go, around that round 3-4 range. I really do. The big, rare amount of big body receivers that can move like this, especially in today's NFL. So I think teams would be dying to get him. You compare guys like this to kind of the bigger body receivers last year. Look at Arcega-Whiteside. Patman that's just one example. It's just a much better prospect than him, and he's not getting a whole bunch of hype in where he's going to go. He was probably going to go later pick than where a guy like that went, and he's just a much better prospect, way smoother, real nice in the drills as well. I really like the idea of Desmond Patman. That's a guy I can't wait to dive back in there and watch because I was very impressed, how fluid, how the movement and everything was from him. Impressive 40 time as well. Then we're going to go on to kind of there's more winners, obviously, just not as big. CeeDee Lamb was textbook in the drills. The 4.5, 140 on both times. That's kind of what I expected. I'm good with it. But one of my favorite drills is the gauntlet drill. What I'm looking for is balance, coordination, catch, great hands, but keep it going. Keep it. You don't want to slow down to catch the ball. You want to stay on the line, no weaving. And CeeDee Lamb, I mean, did a picture-perfect gauntlet drill, and all those drills, he was pretty perfect. Nothing surprising than what we expected. Darnell Mooney's definitely a guy I want to look more into from Tulane. He had some good numbers, was flying around the field. Other member of the Goat House here, Pigskin, actually caught some film on Mooney, and he likes what he sees there. So that's kind of a sleeper guy that we're looking out for. John Hightower, who I really like. I like his film from Boise State. Really good after the catch. Good deep ball threat. Very athletic. Was smooth in the drill. Some good numbers there. Henry Ruggs, I had to squeeze in here because, some people expect him to break the record. He actually got hurt after running the 40, but you're running that fast, by far the fastest guy in the day, and jumping that high, you above 40-inch vertical, you make your way on the honorable mention winners list. Albert Oakway Boonham from Missouri, surprising 40. Now, why he's not a big winner, you would think there'd be a big winner, which I'm looking for more than the 40. I'm not just, if you ran a good 40, you're instantly on there. I'm gonna see a little more throughout the whole workout, the whole process. And he was okay in the rest of the process, but to me, the 40 didn't really match. Look at the gauntlet drill; he's kind of moving pretty slow. The 40 doesn't. He's a good straight line tester, timer. It doesn't really match the tape or match the drills, but those things are good. He was still good, still pretty smooth. He's a very good sideline and red zone threat. Little bit of a down year, but it really showed the difference between Drew Lock and Kelly Bryant. Drew Lock was giving him some absolutely pearls, I'd call them, in the red zone. So he's much better with a more accurate quarterback, a better passing quarterback. So he definitely helped himself, though. He was a guy that was kind of sliding down, kind of being forgot about a little bit, and he slid down a little bit. Cole Kmet, who was my tight end one coming into the combine, and I really don't see any reason to change that at all. I expected high 4.7s for him. He ran the low 4.7s. I think an unofficial time was a 4.69 as well. He jumped the highest out of any of the tight ends. I believe it was 37.5. Very smooth. Nothing outstanding, kind of what I expected, but maybe a little better. It's just, to me, he's the best tight end in the class. He's the best tight end in the class here. And then I don't like having quarterbacks on these videos because they're throwing to a receiver. There's no defense. I don't really care about 40s for the most part. But Hurts threw the ball pretty well, was pretty impressive. Obviously had the good 40. I just don't want to have too many takeaways for quarterbacks. Justin Herbert threw the ball well. Jordan Love threw the ball well. I'm just not having giant takeaways. Hurts was a guy that I can see come in there and kind of miss the open receivers at times, and he didn't do that. He was pretty accurate, so stood out a little more, I guess, and he could actually bump up maybe a spot or two. Actually, you know what? I wish I listed another guy on here. I wish I listed Jacob Eason. And I guess it's kind of silly to list him for this reason, but he threw the ball 62 miles per hour, and that's kind of one, it's a little ridiculous, I guess, to list a guy that just threw the ball really hard, but it matters. It will. It's not going to matter for me a whole bunch. The tape's the tape. And he does throw the ball very hard. That's the impressive part. But we know when scouts and teams overreact from that, and we see guys having success in today's NFL who throw the ball really hard. So really, I'd say he actually helped the stock a little bit because of that, maybe a little bit. So that's interesting. Justin Herbert also threw at 60 miles per hour. Nothing surprising from those two guys, but that's a big number. That's a big number for sure. And then we'll talk about combine losers. A couple guys I want to talk about after this too. But losers, one of my favorite players in the draft, Laviska Shenault from Colorado, had him in the top 15 of my big board. And he's going to drop a little bit here because, the main concern with him was, and I'm a big fan of his game. I'm a big fan of the tape, but the main concern of him was durability because he was Colorado. Like, he carried Colorado. I'm mad that he wasn't a Heisman candidate in 2018, and even in 2019, he carried them as well. He did so much for this team. You throw him a screen pass, you give him an end around, you throw him a slant, you throw him a deep ball down the sideline, you throw him a post. It's 3rd and short, 4th and short, 90% chance they're putting him in Wildcat. He's running the ball, and he's running the ball like a running back, and he's getting the first down. The whole defense knows he's getting the ball. The whole defense knows he's pretty much running straight, and he still gets it. And it wore him down over time. He had to come off the sideline, look gassed, looked hurt a little bit. So the durability concerns are there. I'm not too worried about it because he's not going to take that much. He's not going to have to do that much for an NFL team. The quarterback, the running back, the other receivers, the tight end, they're going to handle a lot. So I wasn't really worried. But then he lines up to run the 40. The first one, he stopped about 10 yards downfield because he looked like he tweaked something a little bit. And that concerned me. I like that he goes back and runs it, and then runs a time that I expect him to be maybe a 4.49 guy, 4.48 even. When he gets moving, he's moving. So runs around a 4.58 if I'm not mistaken. Don't like that time, but then there is an excuse. He did tweak something, and he's done for the rest of the day. Kind of circling back though, the durability concerns. And then here you go. He ran 140, or we'll call it 1.5, and he tweaked something again, and that hurts. It hurts me. It hurts him. He's going to drop because of that. There's durability concerns. There's other really good receivers. I love his game. He's literally one of my favorite players in the draft. But he's going to drop. We actually could be talking about round 2 here for him, and that's unfortunate. T. Higgins, if you follow me on Twitter, this was the guy I was not hyping up, but the guy I wanted to watch the most. I think this guy going into the combine, who had the most important combine, who was going to have like the biggest moment, the biggest combine here. It was going to be T. Higgins, in my opinion. I was talking about this on Twitter because, he's long. He's pretty good at the line of scrimmage, pretty good footwork, pretty good getting off of corners, getting off the press. He's got the catch radius. He's lengthy. He doesn't have the most size to him, but he's very lengthy in terms of thickness. He doesn't have the most size. Big playability, but, where's the speed at? People started to talk about, he could even run in the 4.7s, and I'm not buying that. I was not buying that, and I wanted to see him run a pretty good time and look good in the drills, and he decided to do nothing because he wanted to rest. That hurts. He was actually starting to get some talk that he could drop to the second round. People, from within the league saying that he, is higher from the media standpoint than he is around the league, so he actually could drop to the second round. And I'm thinking, all right, I think he'll have a better combine than people think, and the tape I think's good, so that'll help him. And he rests. He doesn't do anything, so that really hurt him. 2 receivers here at the top, that first round players for me, but actually could be dropped. They could eventually go in the second round in my book here, in my opinion. I think they really can. KJ Hill, kind of known for route running, quick feet at the line, very good. Getting the separation from the receiver. All-time leader in receptions for Ohio State. Actually, that's kind of hard to believe, but he is. And more quick than fast, and that kind of showed here, but really didn't test well overall. Nothing was that great for him. Team's just gonna have to, really love the footwork from him, and that's really his best trait. I mean, he'll catch the ball. But not a good day from him. Jawan Jennings from Tennessee, nothing surprising. I knew, some people were hyping him up, thought he could be a day 2 guy. I wasn't seeing it. He's really strong, hard to bring down, really good hands, but just too slow for today's NFL, in my opinion. And he showed that. He ran a 4.73, I believe it was. And that's not that surprising, but really it's not that good. And then he jumps 29 inches in the vertical. I mean, it's tough. It's a likable guy, but I mean, I can go find a couple guys off the streets that I know, and they're going to run way, way better than a 4.73, and they're going to jump way, way higher than a 29-inch vertical. So that to me, that's a problem when we're talking about an NFL receiver, a receiver that played for Tennessee. That's a problem. Adam Trautman, minus the 3-cone drill, which actually was one of the best on the whole day. That was good. Minus that, I did not like his workout. I felt at times, I tweeted about it too. I thought he was like stuck in mud. Like he really wasn't moving right, standing too tall. Looked a little awkward at times, other than the 3-cone, just not impressive whatsoever. And that was a guy that was starting to rise up, not only my board, but at pretty much everybody's board. He was kind of known as a 3rd or 4th round guy, making his way up to maybe even the 2nd, but I think he kind of kept himself down there, 3rd or 4th round. The Mitchell Wilcox, who was probably an undrafted guy as it was, I think solidified himself as an undrafted guy. Very uncoordinated. We saw a ball smack him in his face, and that was because he didn't follow directions. On the drill, was confused or whatever. But just, every drill was a little uncoordinated, and kind of all over the place there, and was not impressed there. Some other guys I want to mention that are kind of in the middle, kind of splitting the difference. Well, first with the tight ends, Hunter Bryant, who's my number 2 tight end in the class, and I believe I'm going to keep him there. Again, we'll go through the tape again. After Cole Kmet, I'm going to keep Hunter Bryant there. One of the better route runners, pass catchers in the draft. I thought he would run a lot faster than the 4.7s, but if you look at him, he put on a good amount of size, and I guess it didn't help him testing wise, but man, he put on a lot of muscle. Looks real solid, so that's kind of a good thing in the way. And you see in the drills, he was very, very smooth. You see the route running, you see it translate. So in a way, the 40 time wasn't good. That's, put on some size to hurt his 40 time. That's kind of a loss, but then in the drills and having that much muscle on him now, to kind of bring up the idea that maybe he's not the best blocker. That's kind of a win. So kind of back and forth. And you look at a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who I thought easily was a 4.4 guy. I thought maybe there's a chance he runs a 4.38, 4.39, runs a 4.51. Not too worried about that. Didn't put him in a loser for that. You wish it was better. That's still really fast, and he looks faster on tape. Which one would you rather look faster on, tape or 40? It's the tape. And jump 40 inches. So there was some bad, I guess, and then there was some good. I still like Brandon Ayuk, but he might be a lock in the second round, which some people talked about first. But he's definitely a weapon. And then Jalen Reagor is an interesting one. Another guy. I mean, he put on a lot of size. I mean, a lot of muscle too. So it's not a bad thing when you put on that much muscle. He looks like a running back, but he jumped really well. The jumping drills. The vertical and broad jump. I mean, great, ridiculous, explosive. We know that. Maybe even more explosive than we thought in those drills. The 40. There was plays where he looked like a 4.2 guy. And that's when he was actually smaller. I mean, and there's plays that, I think there was a run against Oklahoma State in 2018. He looked like he's the fastest man in the world, really, on that play. The fastest man in football, all of football. So sometimes it doesn't translate, really. So, you rather be faster on the field. But I think it has something to do with putting on the size. I think he put on a little bit too much. Very muscular. That's not a bad thing. Looks like a running back, though. And then you get to the 3-cone drill, and he had almost a DK Metcalf cone drill, which is worse than DK Metcalf because DK Metcalf's this big body guy, and we know he runs straight and he goes up and mosses people, and he's a threat, in certain spots of the field. But then Reagor's kind of the guy, the end around guy, the screen pass guy. Yeah, he can run goes, he can jump ball expert at times, but a guy that should not run that, and it would be okay because it does, the tape, what he does on the field with the ball is more important than the 3-cone drill, the 40 time. And it looks on tape that he's much, much better than the times show, for an example, the 3-cone drill. But at the same time, he put on the size. Is he that same guy? I think he is, but it's a little weird. It's impressive at the same time. I don't know how you put on that much size with muscle in that amount of time. I really don't. I want to know the secrets, but it's a little concerning. But then the explosiveness on the broad jump, the vertical, that's kind of a win at the same time. So I couldn't put him in the loser section. There's a long list of guys that contributed here. There's more guys that I would consider winners, consider losers, kind of in the middle. If you want to discuss some other guys, my thoughts, we can do it in the comments. I always respond on Twitter almost right away, interacting with everybody during the combine. So that's a must follow, the Twitter and Instagram, posting some reactions to the story on Instagram. We have 2 channels. We have the podcast. We have all kinds of content here every single day. We'll be back with tomorrow early on with another recap. So a lot of coverage to get through here. Please subscribe. Please follow everything we got here. Thanks, everyone, for watching. That's going to do it. Goodbye.